All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down this really powerful idea from Greg Reynolds. It's all about how just seeing our energy grid in a new way could unlock literally trillions of dollars. And it all kicks off with one absolutely massive number, $8 billion. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of value, right? So you got to ask, where did it come from? Was it some huge new power project? A crazy breakthrough in technology? Well, no. The answer is actually way more interesting than that. That's right. $8 billion in benefits created just by coordinating what we already had. Think about that. This wasn't about putting new steel in the ground. It was purely about a new way of thinking, pioneered by something called the Western Energy Imbalance Market, or as you'll hear it called, the WEIM. And this really gets us to the core idea we're exploring today. It's this fundamental shift, moving from a my grid mentality to an our grid mentality. And wow, the difference is it's night and day. Over on the left, you've got the old way of doing things. My grid. It's all siloed, right? Individual utilities with these hard boundaries between them. But then look at the right. That's the our grid model that the WEIM introduced. It's a coordinated, planned system where everyone's sharing electricity across what used to be giant walls. Okay, so if coordination is the magic key here, who's in the best position to actually turn it? Well, the answer is pretty clear. It's the organizations that already have that bird's eye view of the entire system. We're talking about regional transmission organizations and independent system operators. You know them as RTOs and ISOs. You see, these grid operators have something the source calls forward intelligence. I love that term. They're basically the only ones who can see the future of the grid. They know where demand is about to spike, which transmission lines are getting strained, which power plants are getting old. They can see where congestion is about to happen. But here's the problem. Right now, most of that intelligence is just trapped inside their control rooms. So here's the billion-dollar, or $8 billion question. What happens when you let that intelligence out, when you share it? Well, you get what's called a living picture. And this is so important. This isn't about one person giving up control to another, not at all. It's about creating shared visibility so that for the very first time, everyone can see how all their separate plans and little decisions actually fit together into one big puzzle. And once you have that living picture, that's when incredible things start to become possible. It completely transforms how we approach not just technology, but also security. Let's dig into the tech side first. So, what does this living picture make possible for advanced technology? I mean, we hear constantly about how AI and machine learning are going to be game changers for the grid, right? But here's the thing. They have a huge, fundamental problem. And that problem is the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. It's so true. If you have an AI working with a spotty, incomplete map of the grid, its so-called smart solutions can actually create brand new, massive problems. But when you feed it the data from that living picture, suddenly the AI is grounded in reality. And that's when all this advanced tech goes from being a liability to being genuinely useful. Okay, so what about security? This is a huge one. Our grid is facing these totally unprecedented threats, both physical and cyber, and those threats, they don't care about state lines or utility boundaries, they just cross them. The problem is, our defenses often stop right at those borders. But with shared visibility, you create what the source calls a new geometry for security. Think about that. Instead of just protecting your own individual power plant, you start securing the relationships between all the different assets. It means information about a threat can travel just as fast as the threat itself. Suddenly, security isn't about building a higher wall around your little silo anymore. It becomes this resilient property of the entire network, all working together. Now, all of this sounds amazing, right? But it brings up a really critical question of governance. I mean, how on earth do you get hundreds of fiercely independent organizations to coordinate without creating some kind of big central authority that just controls everybody and everything? Well, the answer is to completely reject that traditional platform model that we see all over the tech world, where one big company owns all the data and calls all the shots. Instead, you build what's called a federation. In a federation model, all the participants coordinate using shared standards and rules, but, and this is the absolute key, they always maintain control of their own data and their own infrastructure. And this whole model works on three pretty simple principles. First, data gets shared, but it's always managed by its owner. Second, that exchange of information is totally secure. And third, the whole thing is built on open standards, which is huge because it means no single company can come in and lock everyone into their system. This is what's called sovereignty by design. And there's this great quote from the author Greg Reynolds that just nails it. He says, "You share patterns, not data." Think about that. The whole point isn't to build some giant, scary central database. Nope. It's to let everyone share the insights, the patterns that emerge from the data, without ever having to give up control of the raw data itself. It's brilliant. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now and look at the ultimate prize. We started this whole thing with $8 billion that came from just coordinating electricity in real time. So what happens if we take that same logic and apply it to, well, everything else? The potential is, get this, an estimated $7 trillion. And let's be clear, this isn't new money we have to go find somewhere. This is what's known as stranded capital. It's money that is already being spent on infrastructure, on water projects, on community investments, but because all those efforts are totally uncoordinated, they never reach their full potential. That value is just stranded. And you can actually see the path to get there. I mean, this isn't some fantasy. It's a logical progression. Back in 2014, the WEIM proved that real-time energy coordination works. Check. Today, the day-ahead market, EDAM, is proving that planning a day ahead together works. Check. So the future is just taking that same proven logic and scaling it up to the entire system. And when we do that, when we get to that total coordination, we unlock everything we've been talking about. We get advanced technology that's actually useful. We get security that is truly geometric and resilient. We get a shared governance model that works. And we get real sovereignty for every single participant, protected by the very design of the system. So really, that brings us to the one big question left on the table. The Western Energy Imbalance Market proved beyond a doubt that this kind of coordination works wonders for electricity. The only question now is, are we ready to coordinate everything else?